Overperformers? Go on, you go.
Over? Graham Potter. I know Brighton have dropped off slightly, but I still think they've had a brilliant start to the season and are over it. He's overachieving, definitely. What about you? Underperformed?
Underachievers. I'd go Leicester, you could argue, but I'm going to go Leeds. 3 points off the bottom three, 9th place finish last season.
It's a tough start.
Marcelo Bielsa, you don't really expect that from him, but and they've got Tottenham, haven't they, after the international break, which is a big one for them.
Yes.
Keep those coming in. Hashtag PL fans. We'll read out some of those a little bit later. Let's start the show by joining Rob Scanlon, who's at Villa Park for us today. Rob, good to see you. It's pretty much bang on 24 hours since they got their new manager, and it seemed a pretty seamless transition, didn't it, from Dean Smith to Steven Gerrard?
That's right, Will. Yes, Dean Smith dismissed on Sunday, so it took Aston Villa less than 4 days to appoint their #1 target, Steven Gerrard. Christian Purslow, the CEO here, worked closely with Gerrard during their time at Liverpool, and Gerrard, upon being appointed, saying he was excited about joining a club with such ambition and tradition and heritage. And I suppose when Gerrard was growing up through the 80s, he would have witnessed Aston Villa winning the European Cup in '82. He might have been a bit young for that, but later on in the decade, they were league runners-up a couple of times in the inaugural Premier League season as well, and then League Cup winners during the 90s as well. So Gerrard probably would have grown up watching the man to my right-hand side here, Tony Daly, a flying winger for Aston Villa, and England international as well. Tony, great to see you.
Thank you.
24 hours on then, Steven Gerrard is Aston Villa's manager. You see every game here. Can you sum up the excitement levels for yourself and the fan base?
Yeah, firstly, it's got to be said what a great job Dean Smith has done at Villa. He came at a time when they're struggling in the Championship, going nowhere, and gained promotion. Also took them to a League Cup final, and a great escape as well, as you all know, and then successful year last season. It's been disappointing the last few games, but he's been really unlucky with the likes of losing Jack Grealish, the players that he's brought in as well haven't hit the ground running through injury, lack of form, and trying to find that formation. So, if it was, for instance, not the international break, could have had another couple of games, then I can understand why the board had made that decision to make those changes.
Steven Gerrard's first Premier League management role, also Premier League legend, but he's had nearly 200 games as a manager up in Scotland, an invincible season with Glasgow Rangers last season. No cups, but how do you assess his early stages of management, and can he be a success here?
You know what he's done as well is he's gone down to the basics in terms of he's been grounded, working with the under-21s and under-23s at Liverpool. And then, coming to Rangers, where big demands on him. He had to try and break that record that Celtic has got with a big, massive club there. And what he's done is he's succeeded doing that. What he's done as well, what he's done in Europe as well, has been outstanding. For the means that they've got, he's been very, very successful. You can see he's a very, very ambitious young manager who really wants to succeed.
Brings his coaching staff, Michael Beale, who he leans on a lot. He says he's an amazing coach. He'd have to be 20 years of work to be as good as Michael Beale. But Gary McAllister, part of the coaching staff here, he was before under Gerrard Houllier, a player you know pretty well. You've faced him many times.
Yes, played against him. What a fantastic player. But as I said, yes, ironically, he's coming back to Villa Park again as assistant manager. But as you can say, what Gerrard has done really well is assembled a really, really fantastic backroom staff behind him, which is really important. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, and he's catered for that. He talked about Michael Beale, who's highly rated as a young coach, and he's been sought after as well. So, he's got all the credentials and everything around him. I think the Villa fans will enjoy and get behind him as well. Not only that, the players as well. He's seen it, done it, got the T-shirts, been successful, and what do, speaking of experience, when you've got somebody with that experience has been successful, the other side of it as well, you're going to get that instant respect. He's got that buy-in straight away, which is fantastic. So he's already up there in terms of that. So that's going to really help him and help the club as well.
How long does that last for, though? Obviously, Steven Gerrard has achieved pretty much everything in the game. He's an icon, so he'll get that instant respect, like you say. But if the sessions aren't good or the tactics aren't quite up to date, then how long will that last? You've been in a Premier League dressing room. How long does that last for with the players?
You soon get found out. As a player and be on the coaching side as well, that is the case. But what is important but you can see as well the way Rangers have been successful and everything else, and of course his backroom staff and his method of training, I'm sure that's not going to be a problem. So I think it's all about buy-in from the players. what he's coming into is a club that's really ambitious, that really want to go there, with owners who want to be as successful as possible. But what you've got to realise is that there's other clubs as well. You know, trying to get in that top 10, trying to break into that European barrier is going to be very difficult, because you know there's 10, 11 other clubs that are trying to do that as well.
Is top 6 still a realistic aim for them this season? It's an ambitious club, they've spent a lot of money.
It is, but realistically speaking, personally, I think that is out the window now. I just think it's a consolidating season where he's going to get his brand of football right, get the process right, the protocol, how he wants to play, to let the players know that as well, you know. And if they finish top half, for me, it'd be a success. And then the following season as well, you know, if they get the money and investment that's there and get the right players in, I'm sure they're going to be pushing for, you know, for that top 8. But for me, top 8, top 6, I'll be very happy with.
Up at Rangers, he barely had any money to spend. I was startled when I read that Torre Andre Flo's still their record signing 20 years ago for £12 million at Rangers. Here he's almost got the opposite problem, hasn't he? But the likes of Buendia came in the summer, Danny Ings, Leon Bailey, they've spent a lot of money but not quite getting the returns.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, he's been successful at Rangers with no money at all. How's he going to be even better when he's got that wealth of talent? As you see, you just named those players there, fantastic players, being able to work to get the best out of those players. I think, as I said now, you know, those players didn't hit the ground running. And they were very, very good signings for me from Dean Smith. I mean, you look at the likes of Leon Bailey, which I rate really, really highly. If they can get him fit, you know, injury-free, make him more robust and resilient, get Buendia playing as well. I think, you know, Villa can go on and you have a decent season this season and then kick on next season with good investment.
You do the summarising on every game. Mouth-watering fixtures to come. Obviously Brighton here in just over a week's time, but every fixture seems to have a Steven Gerrard story behind it, isn't it? Whether it's Jack Grealish coming back here for the first time since his £100 million transfer, then he goes to Anfield for the first time in early December as well. I think he may end up facing Frank Lampard later on in the month. Brendan Rodgers, his old adversary and manager at Liverpool. So is there an opportunity for him to get a good early run going, do you think?
Yeah, big games for him as well. I mean, starting with Brighton, that's going to be a very, very difficult game for starters. Brighton are flying at this present moment, but they're good games. Got Brighton and Crystal Palace, as he said there as well, to kind of bed himself in. Of course, he wants it to hit the ground running. Villa are not in a good position at this present moment as well, but I see that changing. I could see that, honestly see that changing anyhow. But as he said, some really, really good games to savour. We talked about Jack Grealish returning to Villa Park as well, so that'd be a tasty one as well. So looking forward to those games, definitely.
Tony, thanks ever so much. Really appreciate your time. So Tony will be here, I'll be here for the Aston Villa Brighton game in just over a week's time. Should be a good one. As Tony rightly mentioned, Dean Smith did a cracking job here at Aston Villa, bringing the club back from the Championship into the top flight, consolidating them. It's now up to Steven Gerrard to take them, I guess, to that next level.
Thank you very much, Rob. That was our reporter, Rob Scanlon, with former Aston Villa player Tony Daly there.
Yeah, he was a player. Top 6, top 8, Tony Daly saying as well. I tell you what, the 11th of December, put that one in your diary. Steven Gerrard managing against Liverpool.
At Anfield.
At Anfield.
Yeah.
That is one to watch for sure. Yesterday, Liv, we spoke to, didn't we, on Headline Makers, former Villa captain Stilian Petrov and Gerrard's old Liverpool teammate Michael Owen, both very excited about his return to the Premier League.
I'm really happy. I'm actually excited to see what Steven Gerrard can achieve with Aston Villa. I think he is a player who's exceptional in the Premier League, and now he's trying to build his coaching career, and he's back in the Premier League. And I think the fans, the club, and everybody surrounded around Aston Villa excited to see what he can do. He has done exceptionally well at Glasgow Rangers, so it's a lot of excitement, and I actually enjoy his managerial style as well.
I think it's a brilliant move for him. And of course, from a football point of view, it ticks the box as well. What a fantastic club Aston Villa are. And you're taking a team that are actually probably underperforming at the moment. No one would have Aston Villa in the position they're in. He is one of the bright young prospects in management at the minute, and Aston Villa are taking the plunge, and I think they've made a good call. Let's
head to Carrow Road now, because our reporter, or Norwich City writer for The Athletic, Michael Bailey, is there for us. Michael, thanks for coming on Premier League.
He is our reporter as well.
Yeah,
he's been there for us all week, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. That's right. He's been there since Monday, yeah. Michael, obviously Norwich is still looking for a manager, but there seems to be one name that's getting closer.
Yeah, certainly Frank Lampard is being heavily linked, I would say. Now, I think the search for Norwich has been down to 2 to 3 maximum for most of the period since Daniel Farke was sacked. So we're getting quite close now. I expect the club will want to announce who it is at the start of next week. So a little bit of time to go out. I think there's probably still a little bit of work to be done, but quite clearly Frank Lampard is doing the rounds quite heavily now.
Yeah. Michael, when we talk about the right fit in football for managers, what do you think Stuart Webber has seen in him?
I think that's a wonderful question, because on the face of it, Frank Lampard's appointment would be a significant departure to what the club have done over the last 4 years since Stuart Webber arrived as sporting director. But I think what you have is Norwich City in the Premier League, and I think something different would certainly give them more chance of getting more out of their current squad than Daniel was able to do. So it feels like it would be quite a risk for Norwich, actually, in terms of using someone who's got real pedigree in terms of his career in football to be placed in front of the current Norwich squad and go, deliver for me, give me more than you were giving before. It would be a real challenge as well for Frank's coaching credentials, because this is very different to taking charge of Chelsea, regardless of any transfer embargoes, and likewise Derby. So it does feel like if that is what is going to happen, it will be a risk on both parts, but I guess sometimes you have to be a bit brave and you might get the big rewards for it.
Absolutely. And Michael, one player who was out of favour under Daniel Farke was of course Billy Gilmour on loan from Chelsea. Can you see Frank Lampard sort of building the team around him, and which other players do you think will benefit from Frank Lampard coming in if he does?
Well, certainly Frank, made sure that he got younger players involved that he knew from Chelsea, whether that was at Derby or when he was in charge at Stamford Bridge. So I would imagine that players like Todd Cantwell, who hasn't had a chance to feature a lot recently, and as you say, Billy Gilmour, he knows incredibly well. So I certainly see those guys getting a go very soon if it is Frank. And I think in general, there's probably the players who have been involved, it's more about trying to get more out of them than necessarily bringing people out of the cold who haven't featured. And likewise, even someone like Billy, in this situation, he will have plenty to prove, because at the start of the season he was given an opportunity by Daniel Farke and it wasn't really working. So if it is Frank, then he is going to not only have to give these players a chance, but make sure he is getting more out of them.
And Michael, with all respect to Alan Irvine and Alex Neil and Daniel Farke, Frank Lampard is a pedigree, proven Premier League legend. I mean, it's a different strategy, isn't it, from the board to go for someone like that?
Well, it will change the name of the club, won't it, to Frank Lampard's Norwich City? So that's quite exciting. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a different environment to what I've experienced. And I was 8 years old when I first came and watched a game here, never mind covering the club. So it'll be something very, very different. But I guess with Norwich where they are, they want to really give Premier League survival a go. It feels like they are departing from a lot of the key principles to try and make that happen. I think you have to acknowledge that. And with that, it would be quite the appointment for Norwich City, there's no doubt about it. And I think I can already tell there are a lot of people worldwide who would be fascinated to see how it will pan out.
And Michael, not that Norwich want to be focusing on someone that's managed in the Championship, but do you think they might have, if they do appoint Frank Lampard, it could be because he has that experience as well? Potentially. It would be a great first question for Frank, that one, because as I said, I do see it as a risk for Frank's career if he gets relegated with Norwich. That would probably put a question mark as to what he does next. But I have kind of been a believer that actually at this point in time, Norwich need to focus on what they need for this season. I think if they do get relegated, if that happens, the job would still be appealing, even if it ended up being someone else at that point in terms of the Championship. I don't know, maybe Daniel Farke would still be available. But, so I think they've got that opportunity at that point. But I think for right now, this appointment has to prioritise staying in the Premier League, because that's what they've built everything around. Right, time for a short break now, but coming up,